The clear message for all of us is to not panic. There is no better way to learn this but from the experiences of people who have traveled this COVID journey. Three people from Delhi who tested positive for COVID now share their personal experiences with us. We have Dr. Anmol Maria, a senior orthopedic surgeon from New Delhi and the past president of the Delhi Orthopedic Association. We are also joined by Mrs. Kavita Sani, who designs and makes clothing for women. Our last guest has requested anonymity but has shared her experience, which I'm sure we will all benefit from. Good afternoon, Dr. Anmol, and thank you for joining me to share your experience.
Firstly, let me put one thing in perspective. I was amongst the earliest ones who turned positive in the month of April, I think third week of April. And तब तक rule ये था कि anybody who's positive has to go into a facility. There was the option of home quarantine at that stage did not exist. The option of home quarantine came in one day, 2 days after my report came positive. So जब मेरी report positive आई, I was called by the district surveillance officer, and the district surveillance officer insisted that I have to move into a facility. अब facility क्या है? Depending के symptoms कितने हैं, I was given a choice. Uh, in the meantime, of course, family was a little concerned. Family tried to find out कि कहाँ पे bed vacant है. उस समय भी bed easily vacant नहीं था. District surveillance officer gave me an option. Since I reside in the New Delhi area, he gave me an option of the YMCA. The YMCA, which is in Connaught Place, I had heard it's a reasonably decent facility. The reason I was given that the YMCA comes under a category of COVID Care Center. COVID Care Center उन लोगों के लिए है जिनके symptoms ज़्यादा नहीं होते हैं. Uh, so I shifted to the YMCA, and in fact, I stayed there for 18 days. The day after I entered the YMCA, government came out with a new guideline that home quarantine is permissible provided you have an adequate independent space so as not to expose the other members in the family or household. The place where I stay, the architecture is a very old British architecture. So the house is so designed that that complete isolation was not possible. So I decided not to expose the rest of the family, and I happily stayed on over the 18 days. Let me first go back a little bit. I tested positive and I got the test done on my own accord on a Monday. Let's start with it. My first symptoms were a mild headache and body ache on a Monday and a Tuesday, and Wednesday morning I was absolutely fine. I thought, हुआ होगा थोड़ा बहुत tiredness. Friday morning, I went into the garden to break some mint. I smelt it. I couldn't smell. So I was very suspicious कि कुछ गड़बड़ हो गया है. Then I tried spraying some perfume on my hand. उसकी भी smell नहीं आई. So I was pretty sure कि हो गया है. Reason उस स्टेज पे मीडिया में और सब जगह इस सिम्टम्स के बारे में ज़्यादा जिक्र नहीं हुआ था. But since I had been constantly in touch with my batchmates and friends in New York, I was fully aware that this is one of the symptoms because some of my friends and doctor friends in New York who had turned positive, they had gone through this symptom. I shifted into the YMCA, and all along, believe me, I didn't even for a minute panic, because पैनिक तब होता है जब आदमी को किसी चीज की जानकारी नहीं होती. पैनिक इज कॉल्ड द फियर ऑफ द अननोन. एंड जब आदमी पैनिक में कोई भी काम करता है तो हमेशा गड़बड़ करता है. सोच समझ के जानकारी के साथ जब करता है तो 99% ऑफ द टाइम वो कोई मेजर गलती नहीं करता और वो सिचुएशन को संभाल लेता है. क्योंकि मेरे को पता था, मैंने टेस्ट कराया. अगर टेस्ट ना करवाता इसमें, मैं शायद अपने बाकी फैमिली मेंबर्स को एक्सपोज कर देता. मैंने टेस्ट करवाया, अपनी खुशी से एक आइसोलेशन सेंटर में चले गया. वहाँ पे मैंने अपने सेहत के लिए जो कुछ भी करना था, अब कोई खास दवाई तो होती नहीं है इसके लिए, अपने आप को बेसिकली मॉनिटर करते रहना है. इन हालात में जो हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स भी हैं, वो बार बार आपके पास नहीं आ सकते. एक तो हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स का नंबर बहुत रिस्ट्रिक्टेड है. हर दफा अगर उनको एक कोविड पॉजिटिव पेशेंट के पास जाना है तो उनको पूरा पीपीई किट पहनना पड़ता है. पीपीई किट पहनने में उतारने में ही बहुत समय लगता है। तो जो जिस व्यक्ति को जानकारी है वो अगर वो सेल्फ मॉनिटरिंग कर ले। सेल्फ मॉनिटरिंग में करना क्या होता है, अगर आपके पास एक ब्लड प्रेशर की मशीन है, मेरी उम्र 56 है, मेरे पास मेरे को ब्लड प्रेशर की शिकायत है, मेरे पास अपना एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ब्लड प्रेशर मशीन, उसमें आपका ब्लड प्रेशर आ जाएगा, आपका पल्स आ जाएगा। दिन में एक बारी वहाँ पे जो नर्सिंग ऑर्डरली रूम में आके खटखटा के आपका ऑक्सीजन सैचुरेशन चेक कर लेता है, यदि वो ठीक है, यदि आपको सांस लेने में दिक्कत नहीं है, यदि आपकी भूख ठीक लग रही है, आपको तेज बुखार नहीं है, तो आपको फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल किसी भी प्रकार का फिक्र करने की जरूरत नहीं है। ये एक वायरल बीमारी है, ज्यादातर केस में सेल्फ लिमिटिंग है, और आपकी बॉडी का इम्यून सिस्टम जैसे स्टिमुलेट होएगा, आपकी बॉडी में एंटीबॉडीज बनेंगी, वो एंटीबॉडीज इस वायरस को दबा देंगी। लेकिन जो जिनकी उम्र मान लीजिए 65 से ऊपर है, या जिनको और बीमारियां हैं, और जब मैं और बीमारियों की बात कर रहा हूँ, जो बीमारियां खासतौर पे अगर कंट्रोल में नहीं है, इसलिए हमेशा कहते हैं हेल्थ इज वेल्थ। ऑलवेज स्पेंड टाइम ऑन कंट्रोलिंग वॉट एवर मेडिकल एलिमेंट्स यू मे हैव, बीट डायबिटीज, बीट हाइपरटेंशन, बीट एनीथिंग। तो अगर आपकी बीमारी कंट्रोल में है और आपको जानकारी है, सूनर और लेटर आपका बॉडी का डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म टेक ओवर कर लेगा और वायरस को दबा देगा, एंड यू विल कम आउट ऑफ इट। एवरेज टाइम फ्रेम डिपेंडिंग कि आपकी कितनी सिवेरिटी है, किसी की तकलीफ 2 दिन में ठीक हो जाएगी, किसी को 15 दिन भी लग सकते हैं, किसी का बुखार 1 दिन रहता है, किसी का बुखार 12-14 दिन भी चलता है। हम्म। अब ये आपके बॉडी के रिस्पॉन्स पे बहुत हद तक डिपेंड करता है। जैसे कि मैं बोल रहा था कि बहुत जरूरी है कि आपको अपने आप को मॉनिटर करते रहना है, और पैनिक ना करके ये डिसाइड करना है कि किस स्टेज पे। अब कुछ 100 में शायद 1% लोग होंगे जिनको शायद हॉस्पिटल जाने की नौबत आएगी। उस चीज के लिए सही टाइम पे हॉस्पिटल जाना। और यहाँ पे अगेन मैं बोलूंगा, पहले से ही सारी जानकारी अपने फोन में, सारे फोन नंबर्स रेडी, एम्बुलेंस का फोन नंबर, आपके फिजिशियन का फोन नंबर, हेल्पलाइन के फोन नंबर्स रेडी होने चाहिए कि यदि जरूरत पड़े तो टाइम वेस्ट ना किया जाए। लेकिन अननेसेसरीली पैनिक करने से कुछ नहीं होता, हाथ पैर फूल जाए और आप गलत डिसीजन ले लो, क्योंकि हॉस्पिटल में भी मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम उन्होंने आपको सपोर्टिव ट्रीटमेंट देना है। सपोर्टिव ट्रीटमेंट यानी बुखार आएगा तो क्रोसिन दे दी, फ्लूइड्स की कमी हुई तो फ्लूइड्स दे दी, अगर ऑक्सीजन सैचुरेशन लो हुआ तो आपको ऑक्सीजन दे दिया। अब बाय फार द मेजॉरिटी को इतना ही करना होता है। क्या करना है, क्या कर सकते हैं अपनी इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने के लिए, ये सोशल मीडिया में और बहुत सारे और वीडियोस में सब जगह अवेलेबल है, अखबारों में आजकल रोज आ रहा है। तो इस प्रकार से अपनी अवेयरनेस बनाइए, अपने एक दूसरे को अपने फ्रेंड सर्कल में बी इन टच। जितने दिन भी मैं वहां रहा वाईएमसीए में, मैं ज्यादातर समय मेरा फ्रेंड से बात करने में निकलता था, एंड दैट गिव्स पॉजिटिव एनर्जी। पॉजिटिविटी ऑल्सो इंक्रीजेस योर इम्यूनिटी। जो व्यक्ति नेगेटिव सोचता है, हाँ, तो उसकी इम्यूनिटी डेफिनेटली उससे हैम्पर होती है। सो इम्पोर्टेंट टू बी पॉजिटिव अबाउट एवरीथिंग, एंड आई थिंक नथिंग चीयर्स यू अप देन टॉकिंग विद योर फ्रेंड्स। हाँ, रिलेटिव्स तो फिर भी शायद थोड़ा घबरा के बात करेंगे, लेकिन फ्रेंड्स तो खुल के बात करते हैं। यू कैन लाफ विद देम, यू कैन जोक विद देम, यू कैन डिस्कस एनीथिंग विद देम, एंड दैट गिव्स अ सर्टेन डिग्री ऑफ पॉजिटिविटी। एंड मैं एक आइसोलेशन सेंटर में था, अगर दिन में 100 फोन कॉल आते थे, मैं बैठ के कभी बात नहीं करता था। कमरे के एक कोने से लेके दूसरे कमरे तक चलते रहता था नॉन स्टॉप। उसमें 10,000 स्टेप्स पर डे हो जाते थे। प्राणायाम करता था, डाइट की तरफ ध्यान देता था, अपने आप को मॉनिटर करता था, एंड तैयार था कि इन केस जरूरत पड़े तो मैं नेक्स्ट स्टेप पे टाइमली चले जाऊंगा। सो मैं यही मैसेज सबको देना चाहता हूँ कि ठीक है, कोरोना आया है, वी हैव टू लर्न टू डील विद इट। कैसे हम डील करें हमारे पे है, पैनिक करके रिएक्ट करके नहीं। ठीक है, so this is what I want to convey to everybody who sees this video.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर। आई हैव वन मोर क्वेश्चन फॉर यू।
हाँ जी।
आपने कहा था कि जब आपको हुआ था तब ये होम होम केयर का ऑप्शन नहीं था।
हाँ।
अ, अब आपको क्या लगता है इन द कमिंग डेज people should be focused more on home care? What do you think the community can do to make sure that the home care part of it, becomes more strong and more viable.
It has to be home care now because the numbers are increasing and the infrastructure cope नहीं कर पाएगा अगर even mild symptoms वाले लोग अगर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को ऊपर लोड डालेंगे तो सो बाय एंड लार्ज होम केयर करना है घर में आपने पहले से जो बेसिक दवाइयाँ विटामिन सी अदर विटामिन क्रोसिन योर बीपी पैरेटस योर थर्मोमीटर योर पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर इफ नीड बी ये चीजें फैमिली में ना एक फैमिली में होए विच यू कैन शेयर मे बी विद योर नेबर्स थिंग लाइक अ पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर मैं ये भी नहीं कहता कि हर एक फैमिली को पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर लेना है probably the demand will be far too much
Mhm.
and yes by and large uh, I have been giving advice to many of my friends and colleagues who have turned positive after me and most of them I would say 99% of them I have been advocating home quarantine home isolation I've been talking to them on a daily basis yes thoda initially people tend to overreact and get apprehensive बट
Mhm.
सेकेंड थर्ड डे तक वो एप्रीहेंशन लेवल काफी कम हो जाता है दे रियलाइज कि ऐसा कुछ खतरनाक खौफनाक चीज नहीं है एंड घर पे विद द मेजर्स होम आइसोलेशन वाले मेजर्स जो डिस्क्राइब्ड हैं उनको करके बड़े आसानी से मेजोरिटी ऑफ द केसेस को डील किया जा सकता है और उसी की तरफ हमारा फोकस रहना चाहिए
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thanks, Ms. Sani, for doing this for us. I believe you tested positive for COVID-19. So I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would benefit from your experience of having tested positive and then recovered, staying at home. So over to you.
Thank you. Saturday evening, 23rd of May, I started feeling unwell, and around 6 p.m., I had 100. By 7, it had gone to 101. I put myself on crocin, got in touch with my doctors. My doctor was Dr. Geeta Prakash, who was very easily accessible on the phone, as well as my homeopathic doctor, Dr. Parul Vadwani. Sunday, my fever shot up to about 102.9. I was on round the clock Dolo 650. I was also started loose motions straight away, and I was given Xanocin, one tablet for 5 days, which also I took. Monday, my fever started dropping. Monday, 25th, my fever was dropping. I was 99, 100, 101. Tuesday, I touched almost normal. Tuesday, 26th May, I was normal at some point in the evening. So I had no other symptoms. I had no cold, no cough, nothing, only an upset stomach and fever. Um, a test was not advised initially, but because the test was going to take, it had to be done online, so we had just booked it. But by 26th evening, my fever was normal, so I said forget it. But 27th, since we had made a pre-booking, we got somebody from Dang to come in, and so 28th evening, 27th also, I was normal fever. 98.9 it went sometime, but more or less normal. 28th evening, 10 p.m., I got an email saying I've tested positive. Now, from the 23rd, the minute I got fever, I moved into the extra bedroom, the guest bedroom in the house. But I was more or less in the room, but it was not strict quarantine. I would go into the garden and things like that. 28th evening, when I got my result, I locked myself in completely. My food started coming in, and no staff came in. I had a separate room and a separate bathroom. I kept my utensils inside. I didn't send my garbage out. And food would come in, like fruit would come in without the peels. I would take in the quantity of food what I could eat. I was eating regularly. I was eating small snacks in between. Also, I was advised to start having electrol. So I was having every day one bottle, 1 liter of plain water, 1 liter of electrol. And the minute I got my kettle inside, I started having 6 to 8 cups of tea, green tea, black tea. The first day when I had this kettle with me, which was, I think, on the 29th evening, and I started feeling better instantly. The minute I had these 8, 10 cups of tea and I started steaming, when I would take steam, would not have the fan or the AC on. Immediately after the steam, I would lie on my stomach for half an hour and do some breathing exercises which I had learned on my stomach. During my days of the fever, I did not use the air conditioning in the house, in my room. I had an airy room. I kept my windows open and I took care of the room myself, the cleaning, everything. I managed to do it. It was not difficult. I kept myself very well hydrated. One had been reading these things and I upped my vitamin intake. I was on vitamin C, I was on European 4 and Zincovate, and I was taking vitamin D once a week. My energy levels were low, but with the steaming, I had hardly any cough, but I was doing it as a preventive, and I had been told to monitor my oxygen levels. The minute I took steam and lay on my stomach and did my oxygen levels, I would check them, they would move up to 99 with these exercises and the steaming which I did. I had no issues. It was easier to recover at home. I don't know what would have happened in a hospital. I did get 2 calls from the MCD, I think, the next day, and they very wisely asked me. They wanted to admit me to the hospital the next day. They said, "We're coming to pick you up." So then they asked me if I had diabetes, blood pressure, or any breathing issues or heart ailments. That was all negative. I had been doing a lot of pranayam and basic exercises during the lockdown. So I didn't have these issues. Um, so I felt fine. So I really personally didn't think I needed to go to the hospital. Right. But because I was 60 plus, they wanted to move me in, but nobody came. I mean, no check. I was quite happy because I was feeling it's a normal flu. I never felt it was anything more than that. People should not panic. There is nothing to panic. You need to isolate yourself for the sake of the family.
Thank you so much. That's very reassuring. Thank you so much for your time and feel better, feel stronger, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, ma'am, we just wanted to hear from you. You tested positive for COVID, and then you took basically home treatment, and you were cured just with home care.
Yeah, so I'm a 58-year-old lady, and I was absolutely fine till one evening. I just had 99 and a half fever. And of course, with today's time, there was a lot of fear in the full family. So, still keeping our fingers crossed, we just left that day and I went off to sleep, hoping that it would be better. But no, it got worse, a little worse that day. The fever went, highest fever I got was 100.9. That was the maximum I got. Then my son panicked and he said that no, we must have a COVID test, and sample collection was arranged. It took a day, and next day he came and it was tested positive. And again, a lot of uncertainty whether it's, actually it was a denial mode because we were taking all possible precautions in the last 2 months, including washing vegetables, not eating out, not going out, every possible thing we did. So we just couldn't trace any source of the COVID disease. So, but anyway, so when I realized that the whole family is very panicky, so just decided to be very strong and just told them, please leave the room. Took the help of my servant, told him to give me a few sets of clothes in my room, a couple of uh, dishes, plates, and bowls and glasses to keep my utensils separate. And I just closed the door and I said, now I'm fine. Now you all also be fine. Now, one mistake was that, well, the day I began with fever, the doctor started me on antibiotics anyways, irrespective of the test. Then we called the doctor and he said that no, you continue with these. He gave me a couple of more drugs, which were single doses, very few doses, and multivitamins and everything. And he said that you just have to be quarantined for 14 days, which I did. And of course, after a couple of days, it's a little monotonous, difficult. For that, sometimes I used to open the window, sometimes I used to listen to music, sometimes I used to use my smartphone to see a movie. And psychologically, you're down, so a little bit of drowsiness is there, you sleep a little extra. Then we also consulted a doctor in Apollo online. But the problem is, before that, let me tell you, I got a call from the government doctor also.
Right.
She asked me whether I wanted something, whether I have a separate room and a separate toilet, which I said I do. Then she said, you save my number in case you want anything, you want our treatment, you want anything, we are available. But I was already under treatment of another doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Then we consulted the pulmonology department of Apollo. Of course, we got that appointment 2 days later, even for online. And he told me that the protocol is that after 11 days of my fever leaving, I can infect people up to 11 days after my fever.
Right.
I should quarantine for that many days.
Mm-hmm.
So, in short, let me tell you that it was just a small flu and followed by weakness, nothing else. And according to doctor's advice, we got an oximeter and they told me to monitor BP and monitor oxygen level, which we have a BP instrument, digital one in the house. And I used to keep on checking. Another important thing that the doctor guided me was that they said that if you can't gargle many times, better keep a flask next to you with hot water and keep sipping it very
Right.
frequently, which was very convenient. So I did no gargle and I used to do this. Because while fever, you don't feel like getting up and going and gargling and all. It's just on the bedside of flask I used to keep having every half an hour some hot water.
Right.
And by God's grace, nothing happened. And I was fine. I was weak for a week. And week 10 days, I was weak. And one mistake I made was that I forgot to tell the doctor that I'm hypertensive. And I kept on having the BP medicines. In spite of the BP falling, then when I told the doctor that my BP is falling, should I have the medicine one day? Then he said that, why are you having the medicines? Don't have it.
Okay.
So after that, I was fine. There was nothing. This thing about calling it a COVID survivor itself is a very panicky statement, according I would feel.
Right.
I mean, it's as if I've come from some survival. I was deemed to die and I survived. You know? When you have a flu, you don't say you're a flu survivor, right? Neither do you say that you are a flu fighter.
Right. You're very, very right.
So that was that's what I said, that the panic was created by the news and the WhatsApp university.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing that so candidly. Really appreciate it. And all of you and your family, please stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.